Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, YouTube. So this video today is regarding the sovereign man and police officers, how to deal with the sovereign man and how to deal with police officers as the sovereign man. So first off, let me state that this is for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please seek the advice from a legal lawful professional. And now that is done, let's talk about this. So I see a lot of videos on sovereigns. I see a lot of videos where sovereign people do and make a lot of mistakes. They're arguing with police officers. They're doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And this also looks bad on you and your business. Remember that you are a universal commercial under commercial contract, and that everything should be handled as a business. Everything is such should be handled as a business, and that when you first get into your motor vehicle, the first thing you should do is lock your door. See a lot of people getting pulled over by police officers who these people argue. The police officer gets frustrated and then rips their ass out of their car. Some of them are just tyrants and rip them out of the car. Others did nothing wrong and they get ripped out of the car anyway. So please lock your doors. Same thing with your front door. If a police officer comes and knocks on your front door, you don't have to let them in. You can have them stand at the door and talk to you. Do not open the door. If they can hear you through the door, they can speak to you. If they can't hear you through the door, well, too freaking bad. You don't have to answer the door to anybody. Just because they knock on your door doesn't mean you have to answer. Because they can't just bust in without a warrant. Remember, a warrant, in order for them to have a warrant, they have to have competent evidence. They have to have evidence that shows who, what, when, where, and why. Who was involved, what happened, when did it happen, why did it happen, and why did it happen, I guess. That would be the explanation, see? And then there has to be a competent witness. There has to be competent evidence to show that there's evidence to prove this. Now, in the case of Rideout, that has been proven not to be the case, which should be considered unconstitutional and should be considered void. I don't know why no one has ever tried to attack that Rideout case. Remember, everything is a presumption of evidence. And you can't rebut evidence if you're in jail. So you have to remember that when a bond is put on you, an individual is considered a matter of equity. That's an equity bond. You are considered a matter of equity, and you are being held in trust. If you look back at some of my other videos, you'll find, after going through the guardianship in the state of California, that an estate is also considered a bond, can be put into the form of a bond. Remember, the guards are transferring you into the guardianship, you are being held as property of the state now. Makes sense, right? Now, an individual who has to deal with the police while they're in their motor vehicle should understand that there's several steps to dealing with peace officers, even if it's just a simple traffic stop. 1, comply. 2, be polite. 3, have paperwork ready. Always have paperwork with all their case laws in hand. Why? Because once you have those case laws, you will then supply a copy to those officers for their case file. And now they have a case file with those documents in evidence. You will also have to remember that in order for an officer to approach you, they have to give you forms of identification. The form of identification that they have to give is, 1, they have to give you their first and last name. I asked an officer, if I wore a name tag with just the name that said, "Hi, my name is Mark," would that be sufficient identification? The officer told me no. So I asked him, if I asked you for your first and last name, would you give it to me? The officer said no. I said, so are you claiming that the badge on your chest with your last name is sufficient to say that I am a officer by your first name with an initial? He did not answer. I asked him again. Again, he did not answer. You want to get this, on recording. Now, you have to remember, an officer also has to supply you with their badge number. That's another form of identification. If you cannot identify him, you can always call the station yourself and ask for the officer using his badge number for his first name, and then ask for a superior. Remember, if the officer is not being compliant, ask for a superior. Now, you can also supply the superior with the copy, because sometimes the officer won't take it. And so, in order for you to properly handle the matter, you have to go about it just like I said. 1, lock your doors. 2, don't have to roll down your window all the way. 3, ask for the badge, the name, full name, first and last name, badge number. Ask for his employer's first and last name. Ask for his bond, his oath of office. Remember, officers have to have an oath of office. If they do not have an oath of office, they are not sworn officers. Now, there is non-sworn officers, but they do not have a right. They do not have a right to make any arrests. Their jobs are purely administrative. Now, I don't know how that would apply to circumstances such as emergencies, like if there was a shooting or something like that. Then those officers technically, those officers could be sworn as sworn officers for temporarily while by their superior, and do it that way. And so, you have to remember that there's certain circumstances, but remember, everything is equity. You just give them the paperwork. If they take you to jail, so what? You can bail out. Some people can't bail out. I seen a guy who couldn't bail out for $50. Sorry. $50 is what you call a courtesy bail. If you like a first-time offender, right, and you don't have any criminal history or past, and you don't have a lot of money, ask them, hey, can I get a courtesy bail? That's $50. $50 to bail out is easy. You just, and there's when an officer comes to your door, again, you don't have to answer. You don't have to answer the door at all. Unless they have a warrant, they have to identify themselves first, again, as officers. The officers also, again, the bond is what protects us. The bond is what protects them too, as well, from liability. They have to have a bond. Every public official has to have a bond, and they have to have an oath of office. Now, the other part of what they need is called a letter of acceptance to office. So I am sworn into office. I am sworn. that does not mean I'm in office. That means I have sworn for the office, but I have not been sworn in to office. The letter of acceptance shows that, one, you are a public official. Two, the bond protects you from any liability if you were to cause injury to another party, such as a secured party creditor. The oath of office shows that you did swear an oath, so you can be held liable for that bond if you were to break that oath, and we could dishonor you. Remember, in court, it's never your honor, it's my honor. I said my honor in court, and the judge said, it's your honor. I said, no, it's my honor. I know what I said, because you're the creditor, they're the trustee. Again, I recommend that people write information down, what they have down, put it on paper, get it stamped and certified with the courts. That way, when you serve them, I recommend 1 hour delivery service. Those guys are freaking great. If you're in Contra Costa County or California, I think they also have out-of-state ones too. 1 hour delivery service, everybody. Really good. The one I use anyway. Some of them I've seen really bad reviews, but always you can use a public courier. You could also use UPS. Remember, even if you give it to them, just because you have given it to them, doesn't mean they're going to keep it. The police department in Martinez, Rodney Brisner, Mike Estenal, Ian Leone, Rocco Lucido, the Captain Johnson, and Sergeant Goal, and the chief of police have all deleted information. Marilyn Margot has deleted. I've seen delete and destroy evidence. They put them in the shredder rather than hold them. So what you do is you send an email. You send it by email. Then you print yourself a hard copy of that sent email and the confirmation of them sending that to you. So that way, or if you're in jail, you can always have a family member do it to that. If your family member is reliable. I don't know. A lot of people's families are pretty fucked up right now. I know mine is. These individuals will then have notice, right? They'll have notice electronically, and you'll have a video communication. Remember, if you're recording this with your phone, I have a phone and a body camera, so I'm going to say, okay, put your phone down. Okay, switching to body camera. Go figure, right? I have seen police officers auction people's private property off and stuff. When they say, "Oh, we're going to hold your stuff for you," no, you're not. See, the first thing people do is when you say that is, well, your next job as my trustee, because remember, you're assigning them into trust positions. These will only be temporary trust positions, but these will still be positions of trust, like the judge, trustee. If you got a public defender because you couldn't get a fiduciary form, 56 IRS form, which is to claim yourself as fiduciary, as well as a attorney of record, and making yourself the attorney, appointed attorney in power. These are things that could heavily impact your case. I also recommend filing complaints to the IRS. Remember, when that bond is put in your name and you file that IRS bond, you file the IRS form. Sorry, not bond. When you file that form, the IRS form, and you're complaining about, I think it's a 3439A form, and you're complaining about these people using your name, your secured party name, as a third-party creditor. And you start making complaints to the FTC, you start making complaints to the Consumer Protection Bureau and all these other agencies, these companies will jump. Why? Because everything is in equity. Remember, if you look up the federal rules of court, number 1 is the number 2, which I'll put at the bottom. Every court and matter is civil. Every matter is civil. So we have civil courts, civil criminal, and there is no actual, it's civil and equity. The Constitution originally stated that there was 2 types of laws, equity law and common law, and these 2 laws were to dictate our country, but the United States decided to, again, supersede its power and decided to terrorize people with privatized police force. Remember, you can find your police, you can find your local police agency in a Duns and Bradstreet. You can find them in your local BBB. That's the bigger, better bureau. You can find the bigger, better bureau, business bureau, or whatever they call themselves. The BBB, the Better Business Bureau. I don't know if you're in the States, it's the BBB, but I don't know what it is in other countries. But you can file to the Federal Trade Commission. I know China has a Federal Trade Commission. I know that India has a Federal Trade Commission because, the East Indian Trading Company, literally were the first trading company ever. But yeah, no, file complaints to these agencies. When they start having to reporting on their taxes, it makes them a little more nervous. It makes them a little more jumpy because they don't like that they have to jump through rings of the IRS. And now the IRS has notice of this matter of equity and can audit if necessary. See? But you are already claiming, well, they're committing an act of unsecured part crediting because, again, you were stopped. Remember, it's just supplying information that you already have. You don't have to argue. You don't have to do all the stuff that's unnecessary for sovereigns. And I don't know why sovereigns are doing this. That doesn't make any sense. Just do the basic things. 1, be a commercial secured party creditor. 2, when you get into your car, lock the doors. 3, you don't have to roll your windows up, but don't roll them all the way up. You don't have to roll your window all the way down for anybody. You don't have to do anything anybody says. What was I on? 3. Supply paperwork to the officers. If the officers are not complying, ask for the superior. If you can't get them to give you a superior, call yourself. Call the police department. Tell them, hey, I am being harassed by law enforcement. Law enforcement is harassing me. He won't give me identification. All the ones that I have named, which is the oath of office, the bond, and the letter of acceptance, as well as his first and last name, his badge number, and the name of his employers. He states that his employer's name is you, the name of your local police officers, and then you ask, can you verify if this man's an officer? That's how you verify. 4 is you give him the paperwork. Supply the paperwork to the officers. Supply them with the documents. Supply them with the stuff saying, hey, look, here's the paperwork. This is for your investigation. This is for investigational purposes in the matter of your name versus, whoever or whatever they're claiming, right? And then you put them, it puts them on notice. Now, Now you go about filing with the IRS, the Trade Commission, letting them know, hey, look, these agencies are bothering me. These are public corporations, because remember, all government under U.S.C. 283002-15A, all governments are considered corporations. So we are corporate entities. We aren't corporate entities. They are corporate entities. And we are as well corporate entities. We're just in the form of an estate. And you give them all the paperwork. You email them a hard copy too. So that they have a hard copy. And then you go, and when you go into the courts, well, first off, when you sign your ticket, you want to sign your ticket, your name, all rights reserved, UCC 207-308, which is the Universal Commercial Code, and you're reserving all your rights, and you sign the ticket as such. And you sign the ticket, all rights reserved under, all remedies reserved under 2, 3, and 9. And sometimes the officer won't notice, sometimes he will. And he'll ask you, well, you tell him, this is how I sign my name. I'm protecting my security interest. You have the paperwork there. You can go through that. Please, here, this is for your investigation. If they don't take it, you can always email it. Now that you have the first officer's first and last name, you just email it to the local email. You put the officer's name in care of, and then you send the information. I have a PDF. I use Simple PDF on my Android, but I recommend that one. That one works really, really well. It's so easy to use and quick. Gets the job done. And you can send a bunch of files, but what sucks is you can only send like 25 megabytes per message. So sometimes you have to break them up, because sometimes it gets into like hundreds, but depending on how much documents you are sending. Please, whoever considers themselves sovereign, stop the stupidity with, I'm a sovereign citizen, I don't need a driver's license. It doesn't matter if you're driving, doesn't matter if you're not driving. In their eyes, you are always driving. You are committing an act of commercial business because of the license plate. So any individual who considers themselves a private citizen should not have license plates. But I don't recommend it unless you give notice. Remember, everything is notice, legal notice. Give legal notices to the agencies so they have knowledge. If somebody does not know something, they should not be held accountable for something that they could not have possibly known, because you can't be held accountable for a contractual law that you did not know of. That is 101 with contracts. Please lock your doors. Do not talk to cops. If they have a warrant, ask for the judge's name on the warrant. Ask to see the warrant. Ask to look over it. Look if there's a judge. Look if there's an affidavit attached to it. Look if there's a witness attached to that. Who's the victim? Who is the victim in the party? Who's the named victim in the party? Let's say you have IRS and they're claiming to be the victim, but they're also prosecuting you. Well, they can't, because that's a conflict of interest. The state cannot prosecute you, and they cannot. The state cannot prosecute you, and the state cannot be the judge at the same time. I asked the judge, right? The court. I asked the court, is the judge the prosecutor in this matter? Is the prosecutor working for the state in this matter? The courts said no, he worked for the county. Okay, and then I stated, well, let it be established that this prosecutor does not work for the state. He works as a prosecutor for the county. See, now they have a problem, because now that puts them in the capacity of a private, because they're not working for to prosecute for the state and the people. They're prosecuting for a county now. Okay. And I asked the judge, do you work for the state? Yes. And you were both, and you and the prosecutor are both employees of the United States, correct? Correct. See, I got them there, because now I got them to say, well, he works for the state, but he's a private prosecutor for the state. You see, it's like the words, an attorney at law. Well, I'm at the event, but I'm not involved in the event. When I'm an attorney in law, I'm involved in it. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a difference between at law and in law. See, they use wordplay. And we're simply just taking and using contracts in their own words and saying, hey, this is what you say. But the way people go about it is completely incorrect, because when you do it the way that other sovereigns do it, they're going to pick you out of your car, beat you, be compliant, but have fun. See, a real sovereign doesn't have to say, well, I'm a sovereign, I have the paperwork, here you go, officer. Add this to your investigation here. Don't, I've already sent a copy to your office ahead of time. I recommend sending it ahead of time so that motherfuckers are set on record officially, so they have knowledge and notice. They can't just they can't just pick you up and harass you that way. They'll think secondary about it. This is somewhat of how you deal with the police. I want to go into a more in-depth video, but I just wanted to state that sovereign citizens need to stop making videos like that and start just, here's the paperwork. Here's the license. Here's the driver's identification. Sign it under duress. Sign and reserve all your rights, and then go to court and proceed about it that way. Stop acting like buffoons. Start acting like a secured party creditor and not like a barbarian. See, this is why sovereigns, real sovereigns like myself, and Taj Tariq Bey, who, yes, there is a nation of Moors, and Moors are not scammers. Some are, most are. But the real ones like Taj Tariq Bey are not. They're knowledgeable creditors, and we are owners. We are not the owned. You are owned in state property. There's a banker document out there that states that we are owned property, we are slaves, and we have no rights. Van Coten versus Van Coten stated this too. So when you are a sovereign and you're thinking, well, I'm going to make a video, and if he violates my rights, I'm going to say something. No. Go about just how I told you. Roll your window down, lock your doors, talk to the officer politely, correctly, tell him, give him the paperwork, give him the proper identification, tell him, here, you're under duress. The individual in the video that I saw stated that he had a driver's license. And he asked him, is that your driver's license on the name? I honestly would have said, yes. I am the owner, I'm the holder for the commercial license of the patent. Remember that it's a commercial contract patent between you and the DMV, also private business. is not necessary to have a driver's license, but that's not the argument. The argument is the driver's license is a patent, and that the roads are open to the public. If you look at the 1850 in California, it says all roads are open and public to the public, and all waterways and axeways are open to the public. Now, if that's the case, then why do we have taxes? Like when you go through the tunnel, your tax fast track, tax to cross the bridge, your tax to pay your tax, you pay for the roadways, your tax to drive down the roadways, your tax for gas, smog. The things and the amount of things you're taxed for the gas, you're taxed for the insurance, you're taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. But if driver's license is such a privilege, which it's not, it's a patent. Again, I'm going to put everything that I said here, but yeah, no. To drive a motor vehicle is not a privilege, but a right. They turn it into a privilege through the licensing, the license, and this is a problem. I will go into more depth about that at a later time. I don't have the information right in front of me, so I don't want to give bad information. But there's a whole argument that will make. I'll post up here if you like this regarding how to go about police officers. Even if you don't like it, I'm going to do it anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not going to stop me. I do whatever I want as long as it doesn't cause anybody harm or injury or death. Any individual who is actually worth the salt and is an actual sovereign would know that secured party crediting is the only way to go about acquiring true sovereignty. And so this concludes the video today on sovereignty. And remember, the only way to get real sovereignty is if an individual is secured in their party, they understand all that is going on, and that they ask for the proper identification. Okay, thank you. Continue to watch, subscribe, share, comment. Tell me what you think of this sovereign video. And I'll make another sovereign video explaining the definitions of sovereignty and what they are in the next one. Thank you for watching. Share, subscribe, comment. Thank you.